I'm Supervisor Mike Goodman here in Pinal County. We're standing on the site of what will eventually be the LG battery plant, which is a tremendous news for the economic growth here in Pinal County and within the town of Queen Creek. One of the concerns that many of you as citizens have expressed is the air quality here. And standing next to me is our longtime director of air quality in Pinal County, Michael Sundblom.
Morning, Mike.
Good morning. I'm glad you're here with us right now because there are some concerns of many of our citizens what our role is as a county, and maybe if you could speak to a little bit about what you do and your role and responsibility to help in the air quality.
Sure. So Pinal County Air Quality has authority and jurisdiction from EPA and ADEQ to implement an air quality permitting program in Pinal County. So that includes rules that meet state and federal levels of control and requirements for permitted sources. And so we implement that in the county. We permit a variety of different sources. We permit down to about a ton per year of emissions. So if a particular source has a ton per year of emission, then they've got to come to us for a review of a permit. Within that process, we address a wide variety of different emission sources, from gas stations to dry cleaners to industrial buildings such as the LG facility. And that's our responsibility to implement those rules. And we have oversight from ADEQ and we have oversight from the EPA in this process.
Okay. So is there a process during all of this that the public has any input or can come and ask particular questions?
Absolutely. So by state statute, we have an obligation to do a public notice period with that. So the process that we use is a new facility will come to us with an application that's required, and the application describes a variety of different inputs into their facility that we need to consider. Basic information about the process, the estimated emission, the kind of equipment they use. It's very detailed. We review that application and we draft a permit that reflects the applicable requirements in rule that control those emissions, that apply to those emissions. So once a draft is ready and we're ready to call that a draft final, we take that to public notice. So we're required to do a 30-day public notice period where we take input from anybody that wants to provide input on the draft permit. Once that 30 days is complete, we respond to any comments that we received. We're required to respond to those. If there are any that deal directly with the emissions from the facility or a mistake we have made, we need to address those. Once we've addressed all that, then we can take a final action on the permit. That's either a denial or an approval or a revision to that permit. As far as compliance after the issuance of the permit and construction of the facility, the department has authority to oversee the air emission side of that facility as described in the permit. So the permit will define control devices that are required. It'll define the emission rates of those emission points on the facility. And in many cases, we require those facilities to test that, to prove that emission rate. So we'll require them to bring in a company that verifies those emissions from the stack, for example. We also have reporting obligations that facilities are obligated to report to us on a regular basis what their annual emissions are. They're all, that may encompass a wide variety of emission points on the facility, but they've got to report that to us on a regular basis. And finally, we have the authority to inspect that facility at will, at the times that we think is necessary or on a regular basis, which we do. We have an inspector full-time that dedicates his time to visiting each of the sites in the county and inspects each of those.
I'm reminded of one that you and I are very familiar with that we've dealt a lot with was Johnson Utilities in Section 11 and the gases that were put off of that and your efforts in that to help control that and even at the corporation level addressing those concerns. And so that's good. I think that's comforting for many of our citizens here to know the involvement that we still will have even in manufacturing mode going forward.
Right, and the benefit there is we're local, we're in Florence, we're a county organization. So we report to the Board of Supervisors and we report to the citizens of Pinal County, and we respond regularly to concerns they bring to us.
And so with that, I just want you to know that we are looking out for the welfare and the safety of our residents here in Pinal County. And so with that, thank you and God bless.